Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Pygmalion. And today we are going to dive into the story further, where accents are going to reveal secrets and transformation is just a conversation away. I'm sure all of you have already watched the previous episodes. So hit the share button and invite your friends. Listen closely because what you are about to hear and what you are about to learn in this video, I'm sure you have never learned it before. So, yes, keep watching the video till the end and let's dive into the story further. In this episode of Pygmalion, we come to the part where the bystander tells that ain't a police whistle, that's a sporting whistle. He's trying to say that's not a whistle used by the police, it's an ordinary whistle, usually something which is used in sports for fun or probably for attention. This is like an everyday London street scene, so he's clarifying that there's no police emergency. The flower girl was still preoccupied with her wounded feelings. She was already hurt, and she says, he's no right to take away my character. My character is the same to me as any lady's. She means that, of course, this man has no right to insult me or say bad things about my reputation. My reputation is very important to me. It's not that only an upper class woman should be worried about her reputation, or an upper class woman's reputation is important. Even though I am poor, my reputation is very important to me. She's really upset. She feels insulted. And she's trying to assert that even though she's poor, her dignity matters to her just like that of any rich woman. Taker, I don't know whether you have noticed it, but the rain stopped about 2 minutes ago. Higgins, the note taker, as we know, what does he say? That yes, the rain has stopped. A couple of minutes ago, the rain has already stopped. Higgins over here is trying to move the conversation away from the argument and he's trying to be practical. He's trying to say that the rain has stopped and let's focus on the facts instead of feelings and emotions. The bystander, so it has. Why didn't you say so before? And us losing our time listening to your silliness. He walks off towards the strand. The bystander reiterates and says, oh, why didn't you tell that before? You are right. And we just wasted your time listening to your nonsense. The bystander over here is also annoyed because he feels that he has stayed longer than necessary because they were distracted by the argument and is quite impatient. It just shows that it's a conversation between strangers and they don't have any feelings for each other, which is quite normal. The sarcastic bystander, I can tell where you come from. You come from Anwell. Go back there. It means I know where you are from. You are from a place called Anwell. Just go back there. Anvil is the name of a place. He is trying over here to mock the girl's accent, the flower girl's accent. He's trying to say that this is not your place, you don't belong here. It is again a jab, an insult at her social class and background. The note taker over here corrects this man and he tells it's Hanwell, not Anwell. He's correcting the pronunciation. Higgins, as we already know, that he corrects the pronunciation, he's an expert, and also he's obsessed with speech. His expertise in phonetics is already revealed in the last few episodes. So, therefore, he is just trying to correct the pronunciation. The sarcastic bystander, affecting great distinction of speech. Thank you, teacher. Ha ha, so long. He touches his hat with mock respect and strolls off. He pretends to be respectful. Actually, he's not respecting. So he tells, thank you, teacher, haha, goodbye. And he leaves the place. He's mocking Higgins over here because Higgins has corrected him. He's trying to show that he's quite grateful, but actually, he's very sarcastic. Again, this reveals that there's a lot of tension between social classes and attitudes towards education. If a person from a lower class meets a person of a higher class, of course, there's a lot of vengeance, and you can understand there's a sarcastic attitude if they are corrected. The flower girl, frightening people like that, how would he like it himself? She's trying to say it's not right to scare people like that. What would happen if somebody did that to you? How would you feel? If someone did it to you, of course, you will not feel good. Eliza feels victimized because the way people are treating her, and she feels that there's a lot of injustice which is being done to her. The mother. It's quite fine now, Clara. We can walk to a motor bus. Come. She gathers her skirts above her ankles and hurries off towards the strand. Now, the mother, she tells, since the rain has stopped, the weather is fine, Clara, and right now we can walk to the bus. Let's go. And she just lifts the skirt so that it doesn't get dirty because there's a lot of dirt and mud in that area, and finally she leaves. The way she has lifted the skirt is again evident of the fact that she is conscious about her class and she is a well mannered lady. The daughter. But the cab. Her mother is out of hearing. Oh, how tiresome, she follows angrily. Now the daughter, she tells, but what about the cab? She is quite reluctant to take a bus and she tells, what about the cab? And this is really annoying for her. Anyway, she follows her mother, but she is very visibly upset. Clara is very frustrated because the mother refuses to listen. She just walks away. And this is how she reacts. Now, all the rest have gone except the note taker, the gentleman, and the flower girl, who sits arranging her basket and still pitying herself in murmurs. Right now on the stage, we are having a focused conversation, and this time the conversation is between the main characters. And the flower girl says that poor girl, hard enough for her to live without being worried and chivied. In this place, she is referring to herself in the third person, which again reflects that she's having very low self esteem and she's trying to highlight the hardships of a poor girl, and that is quite evident from the way she's being treated. The gentleman, returning to his former place on the note taker's left, how do you do it, if I may ask? Now, the gentleman is quite surprised and he tells, how do you do that? If you don't mind me asking, how do you actually do it? Now, gentleman is of course who? Pickering. Pickering is very curious because he's quite flabbergasted when he sees Higgins' skill in identifying how he can identify people's origins by their accents. Note taker. Simply phonetics, the science of speech, that's my profession. Also, my hobby. Happy is the man who can make a living by his hobby. You can spot an Irish man or a Yorkshire man by his brogue. I can place any man within 6 miles. I can place him within 2 miles in London, sometimes within two streets. Higgins reveals and he tells to Pickering that there is no magic, no science, it is simply phonetics. And what is phonetics? The study of speech sounds. And that is his job. That is my job, and it's also my hobby. And it's great to earn money from what you love. Like, for example, if you pursue your hobby and if you can make it your profession, that gives you a lot of happiness. You can tell where someone is from their accent. Like from the accent, you can identify where the person belongs to. And I can usually tell where someone is from within 6 miles or even 2 miles in London. And I can even zero it down to the exact street. So this dialogue of Higgins shows that he's very expert. He has a lot of expertise in phonetics, and accents reveal social and regional backgrounds. He's basically taking a lot of pride in his skill. Till this point, if you are enjoying the video, please like and show some inspiration. It gives me a lot of happiness when I see you people listening and giving me feedback and enjoying my videos. So, yes, if you think that this video is good, please give a thumbs up, write your comments, and let me know how you feel about it. And of course, there may be people who are looking for an explanation of Pygmalion. Please share it with your friends, with your acquaintances who might be actually looking for such an explanation. The flower girl ought to be ashamed of himself, unmanly coward. Ought to be ashamed of himself. He should be ashamed of himself because he's acting like a coward. She's still very upset and she is lashing out over here at Higgins. She's feeling that he has attacked her and she's really feeling powerless. The gentleman, but is there a living in that? Like, can you really make a living out of it, whatever you have been practicing? He's very surprised that how can studying accents be a profitable job. The note taker. Oh, yes, quite a fat one. This is an age of upstarts. Men begin in Kentish Town with 80 pounds a year and end in Park Lane with 100,000. They want to drop Kentish Town, but they give themselves away every time they open their mouths. Now I can teach them. Higgins tells that yes, quite a fat one. Like, it pays really well, and people can rise in their social class. From poor, they can become rich. They start off in poor areas and then they end up in rich ones. Like they start in Kentish Town, which actually is a poor area, and then later on they end up in Park Lane, but their accents reveal their origin. So even though you may shift your location, you may start living in an upscale neighborhood, but then your origin, your background is very difficult to hide. And what does he say? But I can teach them to sound upper class. Now I can teach them means I can teach them that how to sound very elite and very polished. Higgins describes that how people try to sometimes hide their humble beginnings and how he teaches people to speak like the upper class, the flagger. Let him mind his own business and leave a poor girl. He should just leave me alone. That is what she's trying to say, that this man should leave me alone and he should mind his own business. She's of course very angry and she just wants some peace. The note taker explosively. Woman, seize this detestable boohooing instantly, or else seek the shelter of some other place of worship. Now she's crying in a very loud voice, and this man gets irritated and he tells that just stop this awful noise. The way you are crying, just stop it right now or just go somewhere else. He's very impatient with Eliza's crying. This is very evident from the fact the way he lashes out at her. And of course, Higgins is very blunt. He's quite rude and he lacks empathy, that's for sure. And he doesn't take care of her emotions. He understands that, she's quite emotional. Any other person could have treated her in a different way, but for him, all these things are, meaningless. For him, emotion, you can say, just a nuisance. The flower girl with feeble defiance, like she's trying to defy herself, defend herself, but in a feeble manner. I have a right to be here if I like, same as you. So I have just as much right to be here as you do. She's trying to stand up for herself. She's trying to assert that in a public place like this, even though she has a very low social status, but she has a right, of course. The note taker. A woman who utters such depressing, disgusting sounds has no right to be anywhere, no right to live. Remember that you are a human being with a soul and the divine gift of articulate speech, that your native language is the language of Shakespeare and Milton and the Bible. And don't sit there crooning like a bilious pigeon. He tells that if you make such horrible noises, such depressing, awful noises, actually you shouldn't be anywhere. You don't even have a right to be alive. And remember that you are a human being and you have the divine gift of articulate speech. You have been gifted with the power of articulating yourself, and that your native language is the language of Shakespeare and Milton, and you are speaking a language which great writers Stalwart authors and writers like Shakespeare, Milton, they have used the same language. And of course, the Bible, the holy book. So don't sit and make noises and cry like a sick pigeon. Now, what do you think of Higgins's, uh, reaction? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, of course. I would also add over here that he's very harsh, but at the same time, he's also right somewhere. He's trying to say that even though you are poor, but then you also have a right to be eloquent. He believes that language is a gift, but the way he tells, I feel, is quite insensitive. So, what are your thoughts? Please share it. The flower girl, quite overwhelmed and looking up at him in a mingled wonder and deprecation without daring to raise her hand. Oh, she's literally shocked over here, and the reaction that she has, which she shows, is that of ultimate shock. And she's like very confused that how can this man react? And she can only make this noise. She can't articulate and express herself. But that's for sure that she's very shocked. She's overwhelmed. The way he talks with her and trying to show his authority is she's really overwhelmed. The note taker, whipping out his book. Heavens, what a sound! He writes, then holds out the book and reads, reproducing her vowels exactly. Oh, simple. Now, what does he try to say? That he just, first of all, he takes out the notebook and he's quite amazed because of the sound that she makes. And then he repeats this, takes it down and then repeats it in the exact manner. He has more like a scientific approach to the way she talks because he is into research, and he's noting down everything so that he can do further research on that, and he simply treats her English as bad English. The flower girl, tickled by the performance and laughing in spite of herself, gone. Now the way he has imitated her, Eliza over here is amused and she laughs. Gone means just go on. Oh, just go on. I mean, just get out of here. Earlier, she was distressed, but in spite of the distress at this point of time, she finds the mimicry quite funny. You see this creature with her curbstone English, the English that will keep her in the gutter to the end of her days. The note taker. You see this creature with her curbstone English, the English that will keep her in the gutter to the end of her days? Well, sir, in 3 months I could pass that girl off as a duchess at an ambassador's garden party. The note taker. You see this creature with her curbstone English, the English that will keep her in the gutter to the end of her days? Well, sir, in 3 months I could pass that girl off as a duchess at an ambassador's garden party. So, this is the challenge. I already spoke about this challenge in the beginning. I could even get her a place as lady's maid or shop assistant, which requires better English. That's the sort of thing I do for commercial millennials. And on the profits of it, I do genuine scientific work in phonetics and a little as a poet on Miltonic lines. Higgins tells, see, look at her. The accent, curbstone English refers to her street accent. That is going to keep her poor forever. But in 3 months, I can train her. And the way I'm going to train her, she will sound like a duchess at a fancy party. And not only that, the challenge continues. It also asserts that I can even get her a job as a maid or shop assistant where also somebody needs to speak good English. And I do this kind of work for rich people, and with the money I also do like scientific research. Scientific work in phonetics means scientific research, and I also write poetry. Curbstone refers to a slum located in London, and people over there, they have like a street accent, and this is what Higgins is referring over here. Higgins also at this point is actually boasting about his skills and the way he can transform somebody's language, and he is calling himself both a scientist as well as an artist. The gentleman. I am myself a student of Indian dialects and the gentleman. I am myself a student of Indian dialects and so what does the gentleman say? He tells that I can also study. I also study languages, especially Indian dialects. Pickering also has a lot of interest in language, and this is how he sets a connection with Higgins. The note taker eagerly, are you? Do you know Colonel Pickering, the author of Spoken Sanskrit? Like, do you know Colonel Pickering and who had actually written a book about Sanskrit? Higgins over here, we can understand, is like he's very excited because he feels that this man also shares his passion. I am Colonel Pickering. Who are you? Now, the two experts finally at this point introduce themselves, and this is the beginning of their friendship and partnership. The note taker, Henry Higgins, author of Higgins's Universal Alphabet. So, Higgins introduces himself and he tells, I also wrote a book, and the book is about a new way to write all the speech sounds. Pickering with enthusiasm, I came from India to meet you. I travel all the way. Pickering reveals that he has traveled all the way from India just to meet Higgins. This also shows Pickering's enthusiasm, and there's a lot of mutual respect because both of them are scholars. I was going to India to meet you. Higgins also tells, yeah, actually, I was also planning to go to India to meet you. Pickering, where do you live? 27A Wimpole Street. Come and see me tomorrow. Pickering, I am at the Carlton. Come with me now and let's have a jaw over some supper. So Pickering tells that I'm staying at the Carlton Hotel and he actually invites Higgins and he tells that, yeah, come with me now and let's have a chat. Let's have a chat over dinner. Let's have a jaw means let's have a conversation. Okay, let's go. So Higgins tells, right you are. The flower girl to Pickering. Buy a flower, kind gentleman. I'm short for my lodging. Now this is when Eliza she was listening to all the conversation and she tells, please buy a flower, sir, and I need the money for my lodging means for my rent I need the money. She's trying to earn some money. We can understand from Pickering. Pickering, I really haven't any change. I'm sorry. And he goes away. So he tells that, see, I don't have small coins. I don't have any change. So he leaves. Higgins, shocked at the girl's mendacity, liar, you said you could change half a crown. Higgins is really angry and quite shocked, and because the girl has lied, according to him, and he says that you are lying because earlier, what did you say? That you could give change for a big coin. The flower girl, rising in desperation. You ought to be stuffed with nails, you ought. Flinging the basket at his feet. Take the whole blooming basket for sixpence. Now, the flower girl, she just flings the basket at his feet and she tells, you ought to be stuffed with nails. You ought to be punished. You deserve to be punished. And then she throws the basket and she tells that, take all my flowers for sixpence. So Eliza is very angry. She's very frustrated. And the way she reacts is actually it makes us feel bad also because she's poor and we can understand that she lacks resources because she needs the money. We can understand that she's desperate to earn the money, but at the same time the way she reacts is quite funny. The church clock strikes the second quarter, so this indicates that time is slowly passing by. Higgins, hearing it in the voice of God, rebuking him for his Pharisaic want of charity to the poor girl, a reminder. He raises his hat solemnly, then throws a handful of money into the basket and follows Pickering. Now, when the sound of the clock is heard, Higgins feels that this is some kind of an indication from God, and it reminds him that he needs to be more empathetic, more kind to the poor girl. So he just bows down, takes off the hat, and he just throws some money at her, gives her a lot of money without counting, and he leaves. The flower girl picking up a half crown. Oh, picking up a couple of florins. Oh, again, she starts making these noises because she's picking up several coins over here. And like she's very happy because she's got a lot of money at this point. First, she finds coins on the ground, first a half crown, then she gets some florins, some more coins, and finally she gets a half sovereign. And each time she picks up a coin, she lets out a very joyful, surprised sound, and her excitement grows because every time she's picking up, she realizes that the value of the coin also increases. This part shows her genuine delight because suddenly she's got a lot of money, and when she realizes the rising value of the coins, it also highlights her poverty and how small amounts of money can actually make somebody feel delighted. It leads to a life changing scenario. So, all the outbursts that she does, it reminds us of Higgins's earlier fascination with her speech sounds, and it also connects her humanity to the play's themes of language and class. Freddie, springing out of a taxi cab, got one at last. Hello to the girl. Where are the two ladies that were there? Now, Freddie jumps out of a taxi and now he has found a taxi and he greets Eliza. So he tells hello and then he asks that where the two women. He refers to his mother and sister. Where have they gone? The flower girl, they walked to the bus when the rain stopped. So they have left. They left to catch a bus. And she answers in a very straightforward manner. And left me with a cab on my hands, damnation. Now, Freddie realizes that he is there with a taxi. He doesn't need the taxi now because his family has already left. So he, is quite frustrated and he curses. The flower girl with grandeur. Never you mind, young man. I am going home in a taxi. Now, Eliza, she has gathered a lot of money and she feels quite proud and she tells to Freddie, don't worry, I will take the taxi home myself. Now, why does she do it? Because she's enjoying. Suddenly, she's got some unexpected wealth, so she's enjoying her power and dignity. And now she confidently, can claim the luxuries which earlier she has never experienced. She sails off to the cab. The driver puts his hand behind him and holds the door firmly shut against her. Quite understanding his mistrust, she shows him her handful of money. A taxi fare ain't no object to me, Charlie. He grins and opens the door. Here, what about the basket? Now, when Eliza walks proudly to the taxi, the driver sees her shabby appearance and he keeps the door closed. She understands at that point that why this man is not letting her in, and that's when she shows him all her money, and she also assures that paying the fare is not a problem. This part also reveals that there's a lot of class prejudice. The driver assumes, like when we see somebody dressing up in a shabby manner or, wearing little worn out clothes, we already assume that this person must be coming from a very low social class. She looks poor, and that's the reason the driver already had a prejudice in his mind. But Eliza's response, she doesn't get angry, by the way, and she just proves that, see, I can pay. Why does she use the name of the driver as Charlie? Because as I had already said that this name is often used and in this kind of context to refer to somebody, a local person. It's a very colloquial way to address somebody. Here, what about the basket? So here where I'll keep the basket. The taxi man, give it here, 2 pence extra. So he tells that, oh, you have to pay 2 pence extra. No, I don't want nobody to see it. So she crushes into the cab and gets in, and she tells goodbye, Freddie, goodbye. Where to? Buckingham Palace. Now she is trying to say that she wants to go to Buckingham Palace. What do you mean, Buckingham Palace? Like he didn't understand that suddenly why this lady is talking about going to Buckingham Palace. Eliza, don't you know where it is? In the Green Park where the king lives. Goodbye, Freddie. Don't let me keep you standing there. Goodbye. Now, why does Eliza take the name of Buckingham Palace? Because Freddie was standing there, and in front of Freddie, she doesn't want to reveal her place, like, her identity, her address. Taximan, here? What's this about Buckingham Palace? What business have you at Buckingham Palace? Of course, I haven't none, but I wasn't going to let him know that. You drive me home, and where's home? Angel Court, Drury Lane, next Michael John's oil shop. Now she tells that these are the places where the man has to drive her to. Angel Court, Drury Lane, and just to pinpoint the location, the specific location, it is next to Michael John's oil shop. That sounds more like it, Judy. And then he drives out. So that sounds more like you. Judy, again, a common English name. When you want to address any unknown English woman, this is how they used to address. Let us follow the taxi to the entrance to Angel Court, a narrow little archway between two shops. One of them, Michael John's oil shop. When it stops there, Eliza gets out, dragging her basket with her. Eliza, how much? Taximan, indicating the taximeter. Can't you read? A shilling. A shilling for 2 minutes? 2 minutes or 10, it's all the same. So the man tells, hey, whether you go for 2 minutes or whether it is 10 minutes, the fare is same. Hundreds and thousands of time, young man. So with dignity, Eliza tells that, yeah, hundreds and thousands of time. We can understand that Eliza is very confident at this point because she has suddenly gained some wealth, unexpected wealth. Taximan laughing at her. Good for you, Judy. Keep the shilling. Darling, with best love from all at home. Good luck. Now the driver finally doesn't take any money and he laughs at her. Oh, and he tells that, oh, you don't need to pay the shilling anyways, darling, and my best love for all from all at home. So he just wishes her, greets her, and he leaves. So why doesn't he take the money? Now, first of all, her shabby appearance. Secondly, the place where Eliza finally took the taxi to show the place where she actually lived probably made the driver realize that she cannot afford, and probably she's really very poor, and that's the reason he was kind enough not to take any money. Now, but Eliza, she's a woman of dignity. For her, self-respect is very important, and she tells impudence, like how rude. She feels humiliated, she's like quite angry. She picks up the basket and trudges up the alley with it to her lodging. So finally, she picks up the basket and, wearily, a little exhausted, she walks up to the lane where she lives. A small room with very old wallpaper hanging loose in the damp places. A broken pane in the window is mended with paper. A portrait of a popular actor and a fashion plate of ladies' dresses, all widely beyond poor Eliza's means. Both torn from newspapers are pinned up on the wall. A bird cage hangs in the window, but its tenant died long ago. The bird died long ago, but the cage is still there. It remains as a memorial only. These are the only visible luxuries, the rest is the irreducible minimum of poverty's needs. The room speaks about her poor social class. A wretched bed, a very worn out bed heaped with all sorts of coverings that have any warmth in them, a draped packing case with a basin and a jug on it, and a little looking glass over it, a chair, a table, the refuse of some suburban kitchen, and an American alarm clock on the shelf above the unused fireplace, the whole lighted with a gas lamp with a penny in the slot meter. Rent 4 shillings a week. So this is Eliza's background. This is the place from where she belongs to, and we can understand her class over here. The last part of Act 1, as we have just seen, like the conversation, her interaction with the driver, and also the way Shaw has described her home, it just illustrates her poverty. It also speaks about the prejudices of society, and at the same time, Eliza's dignity. The driver initially refused to take her, but then subsequently he accepted. When Eliza showed her the money, the driver initially refused, but then subsequently he accepted when Eliza showed him the money. And Shaw's detailed stage directions makes the theme very clear and impactful. Here, Eliza, chronically weary but too excited to go to bed, sits, counting her new riches and dreaming and planning what to do with them until the gas goes out, when she enjoys for the first time the sensation of being able to put in another penny without grudging it. Now, Eliza has got some extra money, which we have seen, and now she is started dreaming and planning what she can do with them. Finally, at this point, the light goes out. And for the first time, she doesn't grudge because now she's able to pay the penny without grumbling about it. This prodigal mood does not extinguish her gnawing sense of the need for economy sufficiently to prevent her from calculating that she can dream and plan in bed more cheaply and warmly than sitting up without a fire. So she takes off her shawl and skirt and adds them to the miscellaneous bedclothes. Then she kicks off her shoes and gets into bed without any further change. So Eliza decided to stop, grudging, and now she can dream and plan in bed more cheaply and warmly than sitting up without a fire. So finally, she takes off the shawl and the skirt and then throws them on the variety of bedclothes, and she jumps into the bed without draping herself with anything else. This is the end of Act 1. So I hope it is clear. If you have enjoyed the video, as I said earlier, please do not hesitate to like, share, subscribe to the channel. And finally, what do you think about the Act 1? My inputs for you is, first of all, we get to know about Eliza's character. She is a proud girl. She is quite conscious of her dignity. She's confident and she doesn't hesitate to afford luxuries, even though it's very brief, but she doesn't hesitate to do so. And at the same time, the entire Act 1 revealed the class barriers. The poor, they're always mistrusted, they're always excluded from the mainstream. And it also sets up the theme of the play, which is Eliza's transformation. We come to know about her origin, the place where she originally lives, the obstacles which she faces because of her class and appearance, and then it prepares us to see further that how Higgins can actually transform her. The challenge is already taken, and finally, we wait with eagerness to see the new Eliza in the forthcoming scenes of the play. That's all for today. Have a beautiful, beautiful day ahead and keep watching.